So now I want to talk about visualization and brain science. See, there's a huge field within psychology. For example, sports psychology that uses a lot of visualization. In fact, professional athletes and performers almost all use visualization because it works. See, the body does not know the difference between what is happening in the outside and what we imagine or remember within us. So if you're visualizing something that happened 10 years ago, the body doesn't know that it's happening 10 years ago. The mind thinks that it's happening now because it's going through the motions. So when it comes to athletes, for example, when a runner visualizes a race, while attached to the electrodes, the exact same sequence of brain activity is observed as when the runner is physically racing. In other words, the brain is going through the race even though he's not physically moving. So if you imagine eating a juicy lime and tasting it, sour juice, your mouth will actually salivate because your mind has been tricked and has tricked your body into thinking that that's reality. So the same is also true if you visualize yourself failing or losing. Then what happens? That your brain is going to try to create that. So according to research using brain imagery, visualization works because neurons in your brain, those electrically excitable cells that transmit information, interpret images as equivalent to a real live action. So it sees it as if it was reality, regardless if it's something that you're just creating in your brain. So when we visualize an act, the brain actually generates an impulse that tells our neurons to perform the movement. For example, in 2004, the Cleveland Clinic conducted a study on mental exercises and the impact that it has on our strength in participants' fingers and arms in specific. So they separated people into 3 groups and had them follow a protocol for 12 weeks. So one group did the physical exercises and one group visualized doing the exercises but did not actually do the physical exercises in real life. And the last group did nothing. So at the end, they retested their strengths. And when it came to their finger strength, the group that physically did the exercises had a 53% increase in strength, which is pretty good. But the ones that visualized it had an increase of 35%. And the ones that did nothing had no significant change. Wow. Think about that. They didn't even have to go to the gym. And their strength increased by 35% just by seeing it. So it's incredible to think that your thoughts are so powerful that simply visualizing, exercising your fingers can significantly increase your strength without any physical movement whatsoever. They also found that arm strength increased by 13% through visualizing. So even the arm, just by visualizing yourself through an exercise, it actually increased by 13%. So if your mind can do that, what else can it do for you that you may not even be tapping into? Another study, for example, was looking at brain patterns in weightlifters and found that the patterns activated when the weightlifter lifted hundreds of pounds were similarly activated when the weightlifter visualized himself lifting that. And what's even more crazy is that in some studies, in some cases, researchers actually reveal that mental practices are almost as effective as true physical practice, and that doing both is more effective than either alone. For instance, Wang Yun, an exercise psychologist from Cleveland Clinic Foundation in Ohio, compared people who went to the gym with people who carried out virtual workouts in their heads. He found that a 30% muscle increase in the group who went to the gym. However, the group of participants who conducted mental exercises of the weight training increased muscle strength by almost half as much, 13.5% to be exact. This average remained the same for 3 months following the mental training. So think about that. Think about the fact that that's how powerful your brain is. For example, they did another study where they had people shoot basketballs. And they had them shoot like 100 shots, and they did it for like a week or something like that. They had some shoot real basketball. They had some people pretend like they shot them in their head and just visualize themselves making the basket in. And what was crazy is that the ones that actually visualized it, when they came back for the study and had them actually shoot the basketballs, those ones that I only visualized it actually made more shots than the ones that had done it physically. Because the ones that visualized it kept seeing themselves actually making it. So it was training the brain to actually do that. There was another example where people were putting hand in ice. So when they saw a picture of someone putting their hand in ice, their hand actually got cold just by seeing someone else do a picture, seeing a picture of someone putting their hand in ice or seeing a video. The same thing came when somebody put their hand in hot water. Their hand actually increased in temperature just by seeing someone hand in hot water. So now I want you to do a simple exercise just to see the power of your brain and the power of visualization. And if you've taken some of my courses, I have it in one or two other courses, but I just find this exercise so powerful. I've done it in front of a couple people, in front of just one of my clients. I've done it in front of thousands of people in events. And the results are always the same. You always see people that can push significantly more just by doing this exercise. So let's get started. Very simple. Just follow along. Obviously, if you're driving and listening or driving and seeing it or somewhere else, you might not be able to do it. Do it another time when you're at home or somewhere else that you have the room to be able to do it effectively. And also are not distracted, because the more that you can actually get into it, the more benefit you're going to get out of it. So what I want you to do is I want you to stand, point with your right hand, and then go towards your right and go as far as you can. Go as far as you can. And then I want you to look at where you're pointing, and I want you to memorize that spot. So mentally memorize that spot so you know where you were at. Then once you're done with it, just bring the arm back around. So now what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to take a deep breath. Now I want you to take another deep breath. Of course, remember to exhale. That's important. I want you to pass out. And then I want you to do what you did physically, but only mentally. So mentally, I want you to raise your hand. And again, if you're moving physically, that's not what I want you to do. I just want you to do it mentally. So mentally, you're raising that same hand that you raised when you did it physically. Only in your mind though, only in your mind. And mentally, you're doing exactly the same thing. So now I want you to go towards your right again and go as far as you can mentally. Remember that this is mentally, so you can go farther if you want. Just go as far as you can mentally. And now I want you to visualize that place where you went mentally and see it, memorize it. And once you have that spot memorized, I want you to bring that arm back around to where you first started. Bring that arm back. Again, this is only mentally. Bring it down. Now I want you to take another deep breath. Take another deep breath. Now I want you to do the same thing you did mentally, but this time I want you to go much, much further. So mentally, again, bring that arm up. Again, this is only mentally. Physically, you're not moving. And point, and then bring it all around again. Go towards your right. But this time I want you to go much, much further than what you went to last time mentally. Like if you're elastic, you can just go as far as you want. In your mind, go as far as you want. Then once you have that place, I want you to memorize that location and see where you're at. Now again, mentally, I want you to come back around. Bring that arm back around. Now I want you to bring that arm back down. Take another deep breath. Now I want you to open up your eyes. Hello. And I want you to do that physically now. So physically bring that arm back up and go all the way around and see how far you go this time. and then look at that spot. And then bring that arm back around. You can bring it down. You can relax a little bit. So let me ask you, did you go farther than what you did the first time? Maybe, maybe. Did you go much, much farther? And the powerful thing is that the better you get at visualizing, the farther you will go on some of these things. The same thing with anything in life, anything that you want to change. The better you get at visualizing, the more real it looks to you, the farther you will go in creating that reality that you want. And the reason that you went farther, if you went farther, is because what happens, your brain will adjust itself. Your brain will look for ways to help you get to that place that you went to in your brain physically. Because what tends to happen is that you might say, well, if I go a little bit farther, I might hurt myself. I might not be able to go farther than this. We set limitations on ourselves. But if you can see it mentally, your body will look for ways to create that. And again, athletes use this all the time. Athletes use this in basketball and boxing. They'll visualize the whole match. They'll visualize themselves winning. They use this for many different things. In fact, even people who work for NASA use this. Scientists use visualization because they know the power behind it. Because again, we have our own biases, we have our own limited belief systems. And what we do every time we visualize something and we see it, we break through those biases, those limiting belief systems. Because the brain says, well, if they can do that, if he can do that, then I got to figure out how to do that because that should be reality because the brain doesn't know that it's only happening in your brain. So if it's happening in your brain, the brain then says, how can I make this a reality? And I've done this again for everything, every aspect of my life, whether it was my school, business, my career, my relationship, whatever it was, I visualize it. And I still do that. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I visualize my day. And when I go to sleep at night, I visualize what I want to create. In fact, many times I fall asleep in that visualization. And I found it to be one of the most powerful tools to creating my reality. So I hope you enjoyed the exercise. I hope you enjoy the rest of the course. And I hope that you start using visualization to transform your life and create the reality that you want. Thank you.